Oh, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us once again on another live video. And I would like to apologize for the delays. We definitely already are 10, 12 minutes in, but you know how Fridays are, and we are chilling and all that kind of thing, and technical issues happening and all these kind of good things, good or bad, who knows, whatever. We are here. That's what matters. So thank you so much for joining me once again on this channel. My name is Nduta Wambura. I'm the Kenya country representative for Erasmus and also the communications director for Erasmus Mundus Association. So I am glad once again to bring you another live video. This month has been back to back to back to back to back of live videos, but all I have wanted is to highlight the plight of the Kenyan students who came to study last year. And you know what? They've had some really interesting stories to tell. So these are the stories I've been wanting to tell on this channel. So please feel free to interact with me on the comment section, send in your questions, any remarks that you would like to tell on this channel, on this video today, anything that you would like to ask the speaker, because you know what? He has a lot of tea. That's what he told me. He told me, Nduta, I have a lot of tea to tell. So this tea is obviously about his application process, as well as what he's seen in Europe, the changes that have occurred, the transition from coming to Kenya, from Kenya to Europe, and all these kind of things. So please feel free to tell us where you're listening in from, and what question do you have, any remarks that you might have. You might just want to say hi. We are welcoming that. It's Friday. Let's chill. Let's answer the questions that need to be answered so that we can give you that extra kick so that you can apply for this program. So today's guest is a fantastic guest because he's done quite a lot even when he was in Kenya. And I am excited to actually interview him because he's doing one of the most extraordinary masters, European Interdisciplinary Master in Africa Studies. It's one of its own kind, honestly, within the Erasmus framework. So without further ado, I don't want to say too much. His name is Israel Finney Israel. I mean, those are many names, right? But hey, Israel, how are you?
Hi, Nduta. How are you doing?
I am good. Thank you so much for coming. I know you have a busy schedule. I know you've been moving countries, doing all this Europe thing. So thank you so much for gracing your presence on this channel. So how are you? How is everything so far?
Yeah, everything is nice. Everything is pretty much exciting.
Yeah.
Never knew Europe would be such an exciting adventure, you see? It's
Okay.
like the moment you have that visa, it's like just moving from Kisumu to Mombasa, going to in and about, every country. But it's pretty much an exciting experience, I have to say.
Oh my God. So as they say in Kenya, Mayolo, you're living the Mayolo life, is it? Can we say that?
Definitely.
Oh, wow. Okay. You come from the parts of Kenya where they do not sugarcoat anything. So I do believe that for real, when you speak to your friends nowadays, you're like, yeah, I'm yellowing, this is how the life should be lived and all these kind of things. So I am so glad to speak to you because I know that you went through a lot before you could actually come over and begin your studies. So now, first of all, can you tell us, so who is Israel really? Who is Israel really? We just see you somewhere on social media, etc. So who is Israel?
Yeah, one of the most difficult questions is always asking someone who they are. That I have to confirm.
Yeah.
But I always look at myself as a very happy, excited person who is always eager to learn from new
Okay.
environments, to interact with new people.
Right.
And I find myself within that kind of circle. So Israel is just this particular interpersonal happy soul that is
Right.
just excited and happy with whatever he always does and whatever he puts his hands on.
Right. So as they say, you are the epitome of Hakuna Matata. So,
Hakuna
don't worry,
Matata.
be happy type of stuff going. I love to hear that, honestly speaking.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know you need that vibe, especially when you're in Europe and having, being away from home and all these kind of things. So, Israel, can you tell us what is your background? So, because you are now a European interdisciplinary master in African studies scholar. So,
Mm.
what led you in the first place? How? Why? Why did you even apply for this? So, what was your background? Perhaps maybe you can take us through. Did you even study in the University of Nairobi? I honestly was wondering about that question. So, tell us.
Yeah, lovely question. So of course, for me, I always say that everything begins from the background, from the upbringing, going up into your development as a person within the future.
Right.
But my enthusiasm about the entire kind of African issues started way back in my high school. I studied at Kisii High School in
Okay.
Kenya. So,
Yeah.
so it is here where I started developing interests around international politics and also African development affairs.
Right.
And through this, I finished from Kisii School. Of course, I graduated from Kisii High School with
Okay.
an A minor, and I got an admission
Wow.
to the Technical University of Kenya. Actually, for Technical University of Kenya, I have to confirm something. The
Yeah.
name is they technical. It's never added as other universities add it to their titles.
Okay. Okay. If you say so.
It
Okay.
comes with the name. So I was at the Technical University of Kenya, where
Right.
I was privileged to be admitted for a Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations and Diplomacy.
Right.
So it was an interesting program, a 4 years program, interacting with issues of African affairs, of course,
Yeah.
interacting with global issues, the place of Africa within these global issues, how can Africa survive within the global kind of space. And
Right.
it was the most exciting, actually, choice I ever made.
Yes.
And I graduated then from the Technical University of Kenya in 2021 with a first
Okay.
class honors
Wow. Clap,
in
clap.
in international relations and diplomacy.
Yes.
So it is from there that
Yeah.
now I asked myself, what next for Finney Israel? What is the next step for my
Yeah.
life? I
Right.
understand global politics and this. So what do I do? Do I
Yeah.
go to the professional world, or do I further and enhance these academic skills that I've
Okay.
already attained? And it's at that stage that I saw that the master's program, applying for master's program, was the definitely next step I needed to take.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course, because I felt a master's program would be critical in enhancing my academic skills, and at the same time, it will be critical in also packaging me
Right.
professionally out there.
Yeah.
So, this is where now I applied for
Yeah.
quite a number of courses. I
Okay.
have to confess, because it was a new environment,
Yeah.
and I wanted to maximize my chances of getting admission to one of the prestigious universities in Europe.
Okay.
So I applied for over eight in the UK. Applied to 8 universities.
Oh, wow. Eight
Yes,
universities.
and
Okay.
and interestingly, I got an admission in all the 8 universities that I
And no
applied for.
funding. But no funding, is it? Because
Yes,
that's the UK for you.
that was where now the challenge comes in, because
Yeah.
there were some, for instance, the University of Glasgow, that
Yeah.
were willing to give 100% tuition waiver,
Okay.
but then I'd have to cater for other elements like my
Right.
accommodation and my travels and so forth.
Right.
University of Kent was willing to give me a 75% scholarship,
Okay.
but at the same time, I felt like 75 raising the other remaining amount. And it's United
God.
Kingdom. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So within this space, I didn't limit myself to UK, because I
Okay.
also applied to German universities. I applied to
Okay.
France. I
Yes.
got one admission in German, one in France. I
Okay.
also got admission to one in no, it was two in Australia. So it was quite a list of universities that had me. But then
Right.
I was tricked. The Erasmus Mundus program just popped up into all these kind of applications that I'm making.
Okay. But how
And
did
then
it pop up though? Is it that you are still searching online? Did you hear from someone or from the technical university?
so actually, it was through this particular interest that I had in actually getting scholarships,
Right.
and I would go to my search engine, and I would look for the best scholarships
Yes.
for hardworking students. You know, you have to always look for the keywords and package the keywords within that framework so that it brings you the best out of the scholarships.
Right.
Then within all this kind of search, the Erasmus Mundus program comes in. And I get that curiosity and I want to look at what is the Erasmus program all about. Because you
Exactly.
know, I have these admissions and I
Yeah.
have some admissions to already other universities, but now my challenge is how can I get a full scholarship that caters for basically a lot of the things I'll be doing when pursuing my studies. And
Right.
Erasmus definitely now fit that description.
Okay. Nice. Yes.
I'm reading at the description, and oh my goodness, I'm like, how did I
And,
not know about this?
after all the UK madness and everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it so happens that I start applying for my Erasmus programs actually the last month to the deadline. So it was like
Wow.
literally, I'm on that 15-day kind of rush to just
Right.
meet the deadline for the Erasmus scholarships, of
Right.
which I applied for two. I didn't
Okay.
apply for one. I did
Okay.
apply for two Erasmus Mundus scholarships. The first one was on economic policies for global transition.
Yes.
The second one was EIMAS,
Right.
Erasmus Interdisciplinary in African Studies.
Yeah.
So it's where now I get excited because the description so fits the person I am. Literally,
Right.
I selected this because I felt it was talking about me. It was not talking about anyone.
This was me. It was you. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like, how did you guys know about me? And in these descriptions,
Right.
because you look at the coursework description, you look at the program description, they're looking for enthusiastic, passionate Africans, people
Right.
who are interested about Africa
Yeah.
affairs, people who are interested in international politics as well. And
Yeah.
then I felt like this is the perfect opportunity of integrating my international relations from two,
Right. Right.
and of course the European kind of Erasmus program.
Exactly.
So I applied,
Yeah.
and I was called for an interview for both of them.
Oh wow! Look at that. Like you just being picked from the UK, you're being picked on Erasmus. Like you are spoiled for choice.
Yeah, it was pretty much interesting because
Yeah.
I get an interview for both of them, but the first interview was for the EPOC, economic policies for global transition. So
Right.
I get that, and the interview was I have to confess for this the interview was rather technical
Right.
and complex because it involved a lot of economic stuff. I'm not a mathematician myself. I'm never
Okay.
good with matters statistics,
Yeah.
economics, yeah. But of course, you need them even in social science. But
Right.
so I couldn't satisfy the EPOG selection committee,
Okay.
but I didn't give up because it's like 2 weeks later that I get an interview request from EIMAS.
Right.
Yeah, and they must set the interview where I'm invited for the interview now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, Israel. Like, guys, if you're listening to this and you're wondering whether to shoot your shot on Erasmus, really, Israel here is an epitome that it's possible because I mean, getting two interviews at a go, this is something that is very commendable. And like that's what I keep telling people that you don't have to apply for just one of one program. Ensure that you can cast your net as far and wide as your skill set and as your experiences take you. So it's very much possible. And Israel is from Kenya, from Kisii. I don't know. You should tell us where you're from, Kisii.
Let me clarify. I studied at Kisii School. I'm from Kisumu. I'm proudly representing Kisumu County.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm representing Kisumu in Europe.
Okay. No more. I would not add anything after that. So, guys, if you're listening to this, like I say, it's very much possible for you to actually apply and be, a good candidate, because, again, you can be freshly graduated, you can have already had experiences, you can already have maybe volunteer experiences, but what you put on the application is what is the very, very most important, which is what I want to ask you next, because I know it's usually a mind-boggling task to actually apply for a scholarship. And like you say, you only had a very short period of time to actually apply for yours. And I know the application process is a bit technical, because there's lots of documents that you need to upload, there's writing that you need to do for your statement of purpose, your CV, recommendation letters, etc. So can you take us through what was your application process like? Because it was a crash application, fine, but what was the process like? What did you do first, and how did you go about it?
One thing I just have to confirm is that for EIMAS application procedure, I rather loved the simplicity, and it's actually almost about all the Erasmus programs. In as much as they need all these documents set and organized, the simplicity of the application process is really interesting.
Right.
It's not very technical, and you have to have this technical kind of hitches when getting around it, but it's very quite simplified. And of course, now the core things that they needed when it came to the application is that first of all, you must have it's a master's program. You have to have done your undergraduate or bachelor's. You have your bachelor's degree. And interestingly, people always have a challenge of understanding that what if I have finished and I've graduated, but I don't have my documentations? That's always a possible concern that arises. But I remember when I applied during that time, documentations were still a challenge, because I just graduated and I was trying to beat these necessary deadlines.
Right.
But of course, the Erasmus scholarships are always very open. The EIMAS was very open. You could provide your transcripts and result slips as you wait for the final certificate.
Right.
So which means you had to add at least these documents, either your transcript or either your degree certificate. When you have this, it can help facilitate this application process.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to get recommendation letters from your professors.
Right.
And of course, it's always open. One, it has to be compulsory. One of them is compulsory from the university you studied at, where you can get one of your lecturers to do a recommendation for you.
Right.
And of course, the second one can also still be from the university, or of course, a professional kind of a recommendation. From a place you've worked, to just speak of your personality and such kind of stuff. So those are critical documents. And the CV. The CV is something that is very fundamental, and the motivation letter. But for the CV, you have to at least try. There's the Europass. Because I never knew about Europass before. So when applying, they said that recommended is I have to have a Europass designed kind of CV.
Right.
And I have to make a very beautiful one that would entice this authority, and I would not leave any experience in my CV.
Right.
Whether I was a class rep, whether I was
you wrote everything.
I had to put it down there. Because you want to be outstanding. You want to be understood as a leader, not just a student. You want to be understood. So I had a volunteer and all those kind of things. I had to put them all down.
Right.
But now it's within the motivation letter that now you have to link and relate all these beautiful things you've put in your CV You have
Yeah,
to now link them and relate them to what you're going to study
exactly.
within the Erasmus kind of scholarship. So I had to develop a CV that, of course, speaks to my professional and academic experience. You
Right.
also had to contextualize the problem. What is it in Africa that is motivating you to look for
Yeah,
African studies as a master's? So
right.
you have to contextualize that. But also, you have to convince this selection committee again that, okay, when you take me into this program,
Yeah,
this is what I will do, and this is how I will contribute to the entire kind of Erasmus discourse.
yeah.
And this is what I want to do after this, and I'm selecting this course because of this and this and this. You have to definitely define all those kind of issues, and I did that brilliantly.
100% agreed with you, because if you're not honest with Erasmus as well, you're gonna do an interview, and if what you wrote on your application is not congruent with what you're saying, then
Yeah,
you disqualify yourself automatically.
definitely.
So, yeah. So did you have someone read your statement of purpose? Because I'm so sure by now you have so many people on your inbox, either on LinkedIn or Facebook or
True.
wherever, telling you, hey, Israel, could you please, you are my guy. You know the way Kenyans say, I know a guy who can do it cheaper. So I don't know whether you have, had enough people asking you, oh, can you read my statement of purpose? Can you write it for me even? Did you have someone to at least read your statement of purpose?
I have to be honest about this.
Yes.
When applying for this, I had to first look at. I went through Erasmus Mundus kind of details, and I was searching for everything. How do you write a good motivation letter? Just from the Erasmus website, all these details actually. It so happens that the Erasmus Mundus, even the program you're applying to, actually tells you how to do a good motivation letter.
Absolutely.
But because I was applying almost 15 days to the deadline, so I couldn't have this opportunity to have people like cross-check my motivation letter.
Right.
But the only thing I did before that, interestingly, was to have meetings with my mentors. I have one mentor in by name Kennedy, Dr. Kennedy. It really helped me review some ideas
Right.
how to do a good CV, a good motivation letter. We had
Right.
always some good joint discussions with him, and within that, I just did this letter. I proofread it by myself, and
Okay.
I felt like I'm speaking about myself and my experiences, and I cross-check this against what Erasmus Mundus needs, and
Yeah.
I felt like, well, this is a good
This is
letter. I
good
think
enough.
this
Yeah.
will suffice. I think
Yeah.
I can send it. And
Right.
you say the truth. I later learned that people have been really sharing a lot to be
Yes.
proofread. You have to guide a lot of people on how to do certain elements, how to do
Absolutely.
a good motivation letter. For me, I think maybe it didn't cross my mind at that time because of the adrenaline to just have everything
Right. Yeah.
organized and arranged within that short time period.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Now let's go into the details of your program, because I know your program might have closed by now already, right? So I'm just gonna quickly share the screen here just to show you guys as well, if you're listening to this, and this masters is one of those that you've put a finger on, and you're thinking that, what, I want to apply for this. So now, if you can see my screen right here, now, I mean, Israel, you went through this. So what are some of those pages, because this is the homepage right here. What are some of the pages that people have to really read through? Because I know, there's about the program, there's the application process, there's curriculum, and so on and so forth, which we will talk about. So what are some of these pages that people have to pay attention to?
Yeah, sure. Of course, first of all, of course, you just need to know what you're applying for. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, the first thing ordinarily you have to do, conventional wisdom, is to check what is this about.
Yeah.
One of the first pages for me at local is about what is this Erasmus Mundus program about? What is EIMAS all about? and
Right.
it tells you what it's about.
Exactly.
And when it explains this, actually, it answers some of the questions
Yes.
that already you may have, for instance, on mobility kind of discussions and
Right.
perspective. So
Yes.
when you have an idea of what it's about,
Yes.
of course, you have to now go to the application requirement. Just you could go back. You
Yes.
have to now go back and understand, okay, I want to apply applications.
Yes.
How do I apply for this program?
Right.
But if the details and information you get within the about kind of tab is not enough, there's
Yeah.
always the discussion within the modules section
Yeah.
where
Right.
you have to see now the details of the coursework, the
Right.
programs and everything. So you can
Yes.
always go back and understand what the details are and what you actually
Right.
study. Then you
Exactly.
go to the section of which now you are, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you look at that research methods, trends of global Africa. You try to link yourself and put yourself within these modules. Are
Exactly.
they really what you want to go for? And are they speaking to the passion you want to pursue within the Erasmus program?
Right.
So, of course, the about kind of tab and these modules kind of tab gives you an adequate information about the program and what you need to know
Exactly.
about this particular program.
Yeah.
So, if you're satisfied about that, of course, you can go direct to the application. But I
Yeah.
believe another thing is you always go and look at the students and
Yes.
what they're saying about the
Exactly.
program. It's
Yeah.
always very fundamental to also understand
Yeah.
because just like yourself, there were students who applied for this, they were interested in this,
Yes.
and they may have good stories about this, the experiences and so
Yeah.
forth. You see.
Right. Yes.
So once you understand what also students are saying, then go and apply. When
Exactly.
you go
Okay.
and apply, and you just look at they guide you accordingly on what you want and how you want to do it. They're
Yeah.
very beautiful photos, as you can see there.
Exactly.
That's the second cohort.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Don't worry, we'll soon take over that screen. We are the third cohort.
I actually know quite a number of people from this program already here, so it's
Yeah,
good to see them and enjoying it, and especially because this is one of the programs of its own kind. It's the only African studies program anyway so
yes,
far. So
yeah,
you make a very good point. And can you take us through about the way people are selected? Because some people, when they apply and then they're like, you know what, they didn't even pick me up just because perhaps maybe they feel that their application was good enough, but then they just didn't get picked. So there's what we call the selection criteria. So, and
yes,
when you're applying for any program even out there, this is a very important thing to keep note
yes,
of. Maybe could you speak a little bit about that?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely that's some very interesting discussion
Yeah.
because you have to first understand that don't just apply for it because you're trying to just apply for programs.
Right.
You just understand first that the program I'm applying for is actually something that I can really speak confidently and convince the selection committee that yes, I deserve to be called within this particular kind of program.
Right.
So if you look at the selection criteria and you see the academic performance, which is 30% motivation letter,
Yes.
extracurricular, and recommendation letter. So,
Right.
one thing you just have to do, of course, they always prioritize the people to perform exemplary within their academic endeavors. So it's
Exactly.
always advisable try and get at least a second class, upper division, and above
Yes.
for you at least to get that high likelihood of being ranked positively against the selection criteria. Because
Right.
once you have second class upper and above, the likelihood of being shortlisted and actually excelling within the selection criteria, especially the academic performance angle, is
Right.
actually very easy.
Yes.
And the second one is the motivation letter,
Yes.
definitely. Motivation letter is, as you'll see the step two, there is a place about a written
Application.
application, of which I'll come to that later. So
Okay.
the motivation letter, of course, aligns itself with that section also to a large
Yes.
extent. And I'd have to re-emphasize the aspect of the CV.
Yeah.
Because the day you'll be called for an interview, before you get to the interview,
Right.
all they want to do is put a face to this
Yes.
beautiful application that they have seen.
Yes.
This outstanding student, this motivated student, this
Right.
experienced student, we want to put a face to. So the interview is not always to vet you about technical kind of aspects. No, the interview just means you've done exemplary well.
Exactly.
And they now want to really understand this in person. They want to talk to you as a person.
Yeah.
So, of course, a motivation letter, so you have to bring your experiences,
Yes.
academic, professional, volunteer, extracurricular. I told you that in your CV, put everything in it.
Everything.
Don't leave any beautiful experience out. Because
Right.
these experiences actually also get into the extracurricular performance. This is where you find yourself volunteering, maybe volunteering in children's homes. Maybe you are active in a club as a leader.
Yes.
You did advocacy, climate change campaigns when in university. These little kind of activities that you partake of outside your academic kind of performance are really fundamental. And you see there they constitute 30% of your ranking. So that is really, really fundamental. And then the recommendation letters.
Yes.
Yeah, the recommendation letters definitely be a good student, be a hardworking student. Because of course, your lecturers, your professors, your professional kind of contacts, they'll speak about the person you are. So don't give them a hard time. Just work hard.
But at least they need to have known you for a bit, you know? They need to have
Exactly.
your work, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's why you just have to be an outstanding. Because for you to be outstanding, they have to know that this is someone that definitely will represent us as an institution out there well. So it is interesting. And final selection, of course, you can see there's the threshold there of 70%, but now there's the written application. And as I've told you, it ties a lot to the motivation letter, extracurricular performance, because this written application is just a sum total of all these experiences that you've talked about.
Right.
And then the interview performance, there now, it was interesting when preparing. It was interesting when preparing for an interview. But don't always go to Google. My mentor told me, don't go to Google and look at how to prepare for an interview. I used to do that a lot. Then I tell him, and he says, my friend, you're doing it wrong.
No way. Yes.
Go back to your application,
right,
and go back deep within yourself as a person. Understand yourself. Interview. What you'll be doing is simply talking about yourself, not borrowing vocabularies from Google to say that I did this and this.
Well, nowadays from ChatGPT and other AI, so that's the thing, you know. But you know how Kenya, we like to have it easy. So, you know, some of these things we just need someone to tell us, don't do it, you know. So,
so it's interesting because for the interview, definitely be yourself. When you prepare, just go back to your written application because you'll have a copy of it.
Exactly.
Go back to your written application, go back to your motivation letter, your CV, and then understand yourself better. Because what they'll be asking you is about you, not about what you've heard people say about interview in Google.
Oh my goodness. And now, Israel, before we move out of this website here, I just want you to touch a little bit about your mobility, because I know this program involves the University of Porto, University of Bordeaux, and you know, you also have a chance to go for an internship or field work rather to a country of your choice back in Africa, obviously in the African continent. So maybe you can touch a little bit on mobility. Yes.
I'd be excited to do that. Yeah, so of course, the EIMAS program is divided into 4 semesters.
Yes.
Just like most of the programs, but the EIMAS is divided into 4 semesters, and the different semesters are offered within the different consortium universities. One thing about the Erasmus, just as most of us should already know,
Right.
it is done by a set of consortium universities within Europe.
Yeah.
And of course, you won't find yourself confined to one particular university. Most
Yeah.
likely, of course. Maybe you may encounter a program that actually confines you to one, but most or over 99% of these involve you moving around Europe in different universities.
Yeah.
So for EIMAS, the first semester we had to do it at University of Porto in
Right.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Porto is a beautiful town.
Yes, it is definitely. I studied
Yes.
as well in the University of Porto. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
within the University of Porto, of course, we are doing five. We are doing 5 units there.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, a total of 5 units within University of Porto. The ones marked in bold are compulsory. In
Okay.
most of these programs, you'll encounter compulsory units,
Yes.
of course. And then the ones marked in light, you have to select some of them which you want
Yeah.
to pursue, of which you can select up to two of them, which you
Right.
can do. Which for me, I selected all of them except African literatures.
Okay.
So I've been doing all the other units in University of Porto. And they're offered in English, apparently, interestingly. Someone would be like, but Porto is in Portugal, Portuguese-speaking country.
Yeah. But I mean, all Erasmus programs are actually
Definitely.
offered in English, guys. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So that was the first semester in Porto, of which we just finished it recently, and we have a short break. Of course, when you see research methods, of course, one thing you'll do research eventually.
Yeah.
So you'll do a thesis. So research method instills you with those skills of doing quantitative and qualitative research, research methodologies, discussions. Of course, some of the things you've just been doing in your undergraduate, it's not anything new. You get it?
Yeah.
So it is something that, of course, but now I loved. Actually, it was my favorite. Research methods class was my favorite in Porto, because it really explored a lot of discussions around Africa. Then there's the Trends of Global Africa as well, which is a very interesting program. Just as the name says, you can relate. Development Cooperation. I loved this course. I really loved it because issues of around foreign aid, issues of development in Africa, the politics. The politics you're facing in Kenya right now. I was successful to interact with the ways of confronting this within this particular module. I really loved development cooperation class. And then intercultural communication in global Africa. From the name, very interesting, because one thing you've also gotten yourself into Europe. I loved how the lecturer delivered this, because we are not just talking about issues of Africa, but also issues of integration in a new environment within this program. It was quite interesting. And development education, which is very, very, very good. And African literatures, I didn't partake of that. And the project colloquium, briefly, because I'll talk, it's across. As you can see, project colloquium cuts across.
Right.
So just to talk about it, in order to avoid discussing it later, is that project colloquium involves two main things. There's something called the winter school. The winter school, which will, as a cohort, will have to organize an event around a key thematic area within the African issues, and within the program kind of confines, we'll have to organize an event, a 3-day event, which will be held in Bordeaux, France. And within this event, we'll just be discussing a lot of invite guests, invite, of course, speakers, and discuss key things and thematic areas. And the other element is the thesis. The thesis, which you have, is part of that project colloquium. They're linked because it's here within the project colloquium that you'll start conceptualizing your thesis and selecting your thesis. Before now, it comes to the core master's thesis that you're working on. The colloquium is now that platform for you to interact with your lecturers, try develop the idea, so that thesis now you'll be proceeding smoothly. It's like a pre-thesis kind of narrative.
Very interesting. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
University of Bayreuth is
Yeah.
in Germany. It's
Yes.
the next semester. I
Yes.
haven't will be starting there in April. The University
Right.
of Bayreuth we resume in April as we have this short break.
Yes.
So those are the units. I haven't because we haven't gotten to Bayreuth yet, but
Yes.
those are the interesting units.
Yeah.
Issues, interesting kind of selections, and this is where I'll have a dilemma even selecting what I want and not want to do.
I doubt you will choose African language because I'm sure you know Swahili, unless you want to learn Hausa and Arabic and Bambara, right?
German. I'll be doing German. I'll be strengthening my German skills in the
Okay.
University of
Yeah.
Bayreuth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it
because
will be easy. This would the African language will be out. Everything else in perhaps. I don't
yes.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I already have a grasp of a number of African languages.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
And then,
the third semester is in Bordeaux, in France.
yes.
Yeah, Bordeaux, I hear is a good town. Actually, no, I'm in France. I visited a friend. So Bordeaux is really, I hear, is a very beautiful kind of
Yes.
town to be in.
Yes.
And those are the units that we'll be actually doing within Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And of course, I hear it's a very expensive town, but
Yes.
yeah, Erasmus prepares you for that. Come on.
I mean, you will cross the bridge when you get there because there are some
Exactly.
people who've already, gone through the program as
Exactly.
well. They can guide you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we have the master's thesis,
Yeah.
which is the fourth semester. And interestingly, the fourth semester, you select now either of the three universities where you want to go do your master's thesis. Okay.
Exactly.
So you may choose Porto, you may choose Bayreuth, and you may choose Bordeaux. But of course, you have to experience them before that particular
Right.
kind of selection.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where the master's thesis comes in. You'll have to do also your field work, but field work doesn't confine you to also going to Africa to do it. You can
Right.
also do your field work in one of the European organizations or NGOs or international organizations, just
Yes.
working around a similar project that you're trying to do. So you're
Right.
not confined to go back to Africa to do your field work. But
Yes.
of course, I love Africa and I want to go there to do my field work. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, guys, if you're listening to this, this is the curriculum that you can expect to actually study for the next intake. And the application would begin sometime in November, I believe, 1st of November, all the way to somewhere in January. So, yes, it's 1st November to 31st of January. If you feel that, you can do it on a self-funded basis, then the applications are still open, so you can definitely go for it. And the self-funded applicants should have applied by the 30th of April. So if you're listening to this and you would be in a position to actually do a self-funded program, then go for it. Depending on your choices as well, right? So now I want to go ahead and ask you something about living in Europe because I know it's been a short period of time, but I know I want us to go back to when you did the interview, you are successful, it's a yes, 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 and then you have to begin the process of actually getting a visa in the first place before you can come and begin. And there are all these kind of things that happen in between. So if you could take us through your process of, the way you applied for the visa. I know it was a lot. Maybe we cannot go into so many of the details, but it was quite a good, interesting transition. So, how was your transition like?
yeah, because once you get the admission,
Yeah,
which came at a pretty much interesting time. Once you get to that admission,
yeah,
now you have to start thinking about a lot of this stuff
yeah,
and how you get your documentations ready.
right,
And I have to confess, maybe I delayed to some extent when it came to actually consolidating all my documentations.
yeah, yeah.
At least you should do them 2 months prior to your
Even
departure.
three
You should have,
times.
yeah,
Yeah,
treat on time. should
Yeah.
have this actually running and then this documentation is running.
Right.
McHugh, my first semester was in Portugal, so Kenya doesn't have
Embassy of that can
the
actually give you the
yeah, the
visa.
embassy that is there does not process student visas.
Yeah.
So I have to send my visa all the way to Mozambique
Yes.
for processing, which was quite hectic. And I
Right.
think when the government of Kenya reads this and the Portuguese embassy, please have a student embassy, an embassy that processes student visa in Kenya, please.
Perhaps
Yeah.
write proposal would do. Yes.
Yeah, that would help fast track. So of course I applied for that, but now the challenge with my case is that I applied within 3 weeks to the beginning of my program. You see, and that's when I sent my documents out, and it became crazy.
Typical Kenyan last minute behavior. Yes.
It became crazy because one thing that happened is now the visa delays, and then the program was to start in September, but now the visa delays and then extends all the way to the beginning of November. You see,
Yes.
almost a 2 months delay in
Right.
my visa. But what I loved about the transition is how supportive the EIMAS consortium was. I just loved how supportive they were within that.
Yes.
Because now by then you start panicking. I'm
Yeah.
going to lose
What's
my
gonna happen?
scholarship. What is going on? And this kind of
Yeah.
discussion.
Yes.
So they were very supportive, and I remember joining our classes, doing it virtually, and the professors in the port. Oh my goodness, I also owe it to them. They
Yes.
would go whenever they teach the class. They would, because actually by that time we were around 4 students who were not yet there. Of course,
Right.
we were two selected from Kenya. It was myself and Charles Ma. Charles, who
Yeah.
is Chinese Kenyan. So actually, when now we actually were applying for this, you find that around 4 of us also had visa delays. A friend from Malawi, a friend from Zimbabwe, a friend
Yes.
from Georgia, and a friend from United States.
Yes.
So actually, it also made them understand that this is quite critical, and I think it's something maybe that may be addressed with the bureaucratic kind of structures. But we eventually they supported me through that transition,
Yes.
and they would book your flight if
Yes.
you felt like you didn't have the resources to do that, and
Okay.
definitely I landed in Europe after
Right.
all that hectic time.
Finally. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I know that. I mean, there was quite a lot going on, and of course, we talked in the background about this. And maybe what one thing that I would want to ask is, in terms of the changes of culture, because I mean, in the first place, already you would see it from you being allowed to begin the program when you're still in Kenya, to do the program online before you land here. And in Kenya, our systems are quite different because in the university, some of the universities will not like quite allow you to do an online course if the class is going on one-on-one, and also the fact that some of the lecturers will not even be so available as they are here, right? So, what are some of the changes that you experienced from the institution point of view? Because we are going to speak about the culture shocks, but from the institution point of view, how did you feel that that transition occurred? Was it a smooth transition, better than Kenya, and all these kind of things?
yeah, and I think for me, not even I think, to be honest, it's one of the strengths European universities actually have,
Yeah,
and I give it to them. They
yes,
really emphasize on how they can reintegrate students from, especially international students. They
right,
really have a lot of measures of reintegrating international students within the
right,
European education system.
yes,
Because when you get there, the environment is new. But
yes,
then you find that there are these interesting orientation classes that they'll take you through.
yeah,
There's a psychological kind of consultant you can approach.
yes,
Maybe you land and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm panicking, what's going on? And there's someone to speak to.
Yeah.
Especially University of Port was, I am aware that Bayreuth and Bordeaux also has that person.
Study program. Yeah.
The institutional mechanisms put in place by European universities, oh my goodness, they're excellent.
Right.
Whenever you don't get to class, they'll be like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Is there a way we can support? How is everything going on? And they'll follow up with you. How is you adjusting so far? Is
Right.
there anything you want to talk about? And
Exactly.
it's not like you get here and you're thrown into this kind of chaotic system where you don't know what is happening. No.
Yes.
Here you are like the king,
Yes.
you that kind, and it's a strength that I give to the European universities, especially integrating international students into this system, because it's a new environment. These universities have institutionalized that culture of helping integration. And it was so easy for me to pick up within the entire kind of continuum.
Okay, so it was not much of a big change for you, because I remember in my own perspective, honestly, it was like, how we are used to the Kenyan grading system, especially in the first place. And then you come here and then you're graded out of 20. And I was like, a bit confused. So I don't know whether there were certain challenges in terms of the grading, in terms of how much you have to read here than as compared to Kenya. So were there certain challenges or no?
Yeah, so for challenges, of course, you'll be like, it's a different system, of which I can't treat it as a challenge per se. Okay. I'll just treat it as the normal way of doing things. So the only change for me when it came to that and you've talked of interesting thing, grading a system, which is different. Yeah. And I remember even their classes in Kenya, you can miss classes. Here, I noticed that at the door there is a way you have to swipe before you get in, and that one records your attendance. So you don't. This story of signing for someone like we do it in Kenya. Oh, sign for to make it in class. It's not here.
And here, class attendance actually counts for your final grade.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so you find this system, and for me, I realized 2 weeks later that I'm supposed to be swiping. but I was like, no, they have been Sigma class. So yeah, but the system, how organized they are in consolidating your attendance as a student is very impressive. But at the same time, the grading, it is quite interesting. You can't change it, but one thing interesting is they take you around it and how to go about it. And this is how our grading system is. Because Porto has a different grading system. Bayreuth has a different grading system. In Porto, for instance, Portugal is out of 20, as you say. In Bayreuth, actually, I'm seeing something like out of 5. When you get 1, actually, you've done well. That is very good. When you get 5, that is
very bad.
It's quite some interesting different system. And France also has a different system on its own.
Right.
But averagely, I think they'll average all this into either A+, because there's the A+, and there is an A, there is a B, there is a C, there is a D, and there is, of course, the one that you don't want to talk about and get.
Because what will you tell people at home?
What will you tell them? You're taking this to Europe. You are taking F to Europe.
So that's a very good point to make. So guys, if you're listening to this, it's very important to also be attentive to the grading that you would expect in Europe, because European system of education is very different from Kenya or from anywhere else that you're listening in from. So it's important to be aware of these things, because they might hit you as an institutional culture shock. And you'll be like, okay, I don't understand this. Why is this happening? I'm not a stupid student, quote unquote, because you might just come here and the challenging, lots of journals that you have to read, lots of books, etc., etc., and then you're graded and you're like, no, I am an A plus 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 student, guys. What's happening? So, it's a very good point that you make.
Yeah.
So, I want you to talk about the culture shock. So, what was your first? So, you land in Porto, right? You're from Nairobi. You're like, okay, let's go to Europe, and you land in Porto. What was your first culture shock? Or maybe after staying a few days, I wouldn't know. So, maybe. Let's go.
The first stop was actually in Frankfurt. I
Right.
remember I had a mild common cold that
Okay.
day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. When you land in Germany, I'm like, oh my, am I inside a freezer? Is this a deep freezer? Goodness. Oh my goodness.
And you
I've
have to
never
Nairobi is hot. Yes.
Yeah, in Nairobi, okay, in Nairobi, I remember in Kenya, I would not always put on sweater a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I would be like, nah, I'm used to the Kenyan weather. But when I landed here, I knew that, my goodness, life will be different. You better get that jumper.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was very cold.
Yes.
The temp, I remember looking at the temperature at that time, it was almost 2 degrees when I
Wow.
arrived in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. The weather already composed the first shock. But
Yeah.
now but it's interesting again.
Yeah.
Because that was my first stop. The second stop is in Porto, now
Right.
the place where I'll be living.
Yes.
I learned once we are getting into Porto, there's this beautiful sunshine
Yes.
that is just from summer. And I'm like, what is really going on within Europe? I expected at least
You're almost back to Africa, We are very close to the African continent.
now, shockingly,
Yeah.
there is this sun that is shining there, and I'm like, yes, I'm finally here this morning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by the way, I lost track of time a long time ago. I don't know what time it is. In Germany, it's a different time. I hear in Porto, it's a different
It's a
time.
different
In
time.
Kenya, I left when it's a different time.
Yeah.
So I left it to God to tell me what time it is. So
Yeah.
I'm just there in Porto, and
Yeah.
the sun is there, and then I alight. So the sun is shining, yes,
Yes.
but the temperature is at around 10 degrees.
Okay. Yeah. So it's cold, but it's
Slightly
sunny.
cold,
Yeah.
but there is the sun there which is struggling to shine there. So I'm like, God, what is happening
Good
here?
one. Yeah.
But I loved the first breath I took in Porto. Oh my goodness, it was, oh goodness.
Yeah.
That oxygen is a different type of oxygen that you
Oxygen.
breathe.
Yeah. It's YOLO. Yeah, the YOLO, YOLO oxygen.
Oh my goodness, I loved it. It smells like, oh my goodness. I don't know how to describe. But
Right.
yeah, that was the weather, I think, was the first shock.
Okay.
But the immediate one I encountered at the airport is the language barrier. My friend,
Okay.
guys,
Which
do
airport?
foreign languages. Do
In-
foreign languages. In Porto. I mean in
Okay.
Porto. Because
Yes.
German, I did German in my high school,
Okay.
KISS school. So I have
Right.
a little grounding of German. So it was not hard for me to maneuver within Frankfurt when I
Right.
landed in Frankfurt, Germany. But when I landed in Porto,
Yeah.
my Uber app, I have to reset it. I don't have a Portuguese number, so it can't work by that
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So because I have to just see ways in which I can get a taxi, because I've never used a metro.
Yeah.
I've never used
It actually would have been the easiest, honestly, after staying in Porto, Yeah.
Sure, the
Yeah.
metro would have been the easiest, but I think I didn't even know what metro is at that stage. Oh my goodness! I just learned of metro, and I guess all I say is, oh, taxi, and then I get the taxi.
Yes.
But now I can't communicate with the taxi driver.
Where to
He
go?
speaks Portuguese, I speak English. So we are there. Oh, I have to Google what is the name. How do I
Yeah.
say University
Yeah.
of Porto? Guys, please take foreign languages seriously,
Important.
especially when you get admission to any Erasmus course, try
Yeah.
familiarize with the language of the countries you will be taken before you get
Very
here.
true. Very
I'm
true.
at the airport and we are with this guy, and I just look at him. I'm like,
Yeah.
Universidade do
Yeah.
Porto. I'm trying to look for some Portuguese somewhere, but the Portuguese is not Portuguese.
Not showing up even. Yeah. Okay. Oh
You,
my
you'd
God.
think you'd think I'm talking to someone in Kisumu because
You
the
know?
person is
But
coming in. Oh, what are you saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
is
we have to talk. I type what I'm saying. I show him,
show him.
and then he types back in his phone and shows me. And
Yeah.
so we are, of course, so a mutual agreement. We are going to University of Porto.
Yeah.
But now the problem again came when it came to discussing the finances, the
Uh-oh. How much
price,
to pay? Yeah.
the price.
Yeah.
Of course, I had converted some money into euros,
Right.
but then
Yeah.
the way they write their money, 3.50, there's three comma.
Yes.
This guy,
A comma and not like a
yeah, he writes something with a comma. Me, I know I'm talking, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a cheap one. I've
what is
gotten a
going
cheap
on?
ride. And I remember it was to be 35 euros.
Oh
Me, I
my.
knew it was 3 euros 5
And
cents. And I'm
wow.
God, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Until we get done, then he's asking me for huge amounts of money, and I'm like, what are you saying? What is he saying?
No way. No way.
Yeah.
So did you end up paying him more? How did you know that it is 35? Or did he
No,
explain?
he had to retype it. No, he had to retype it
Yeah.
effectively, and I'm like, oh boy.
Wow.
But eventually, I had to clear,
Yeah.
and I'm there.
Yes.
So yeah, I arrived in Porto and it was beautiful.
Yes.
The school is very nice. I get because actually from the airport, I left my stuff at the airport. I didn't go to my accommodation immediately. I went straight to the university because I missed classes and I wanted to be in school actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the online classes didn't do me a
Right.
lot of justice. So it was pretty much interesting when I got there. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know you have a story to tell because maybe perhaps you also shared apartments. You also had, issues with perhaps maybe going from school to, to your house, new food. There's no samak in, the same way you like it from Kisumu City. The taste of food is different. Things are different. So I don't know whether there's something else you would like to share before we can go to the question and answer section.
Yeah, of course. When it comes to the food, I have to admit it. It was different, but in the supermarket there are different categories of food that you
Yeah.
can buy.
Yes.
But now in the supermarket, food is written in Portuguese. My goodness. There's a day I almost bought cat food thinking it's bread.
No way.
I'm like, there's something like bread here, and I don't look at I pick it and then I go. Oh, I'm in the house, I want to eat, but I'm looking at the label, it looks fancy. When I turn, nikiangalia, let me just say Kiswahili.
It's fine. It's fine.
Well, Swahili would have made it more hilarious. When I turn
You
to the
can
other
actually do it. Yeah.
when I turn to the other side, I see a cat drawn there, and I'm like, okay, is this what does it mean? You eat it with a cat, or what is happening here? And I'm like, no, this is cat food. Don't eat it.
No.
And it looks like bread, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I just
You have ended up home eating cat food. No.
Everything is written in Portuguese. And for instance, also I love beer by then. Of course, I got here. There's this Portuguese beer, so I get one, and then I'm like, this label. I get home only to realize it is the non-alcoholic beer without any kind of. But you're like, okay, this is fine.
Party is pooped. Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, so when integration, I think language is something
Yes,
fun. When you understand the language, you can maneuver. It's actually the secret to maneuvering across every other integration element. I remember
absolutely.
also meeting this very beautiful Portuguese girl,
Yeah,
and then by then we were in an English setup,
yes,
so she doesn't understand English that well,
yes,
just basics. But
right.
we managed. I managed to get a number and now we are to chat and maybe grab some food in Porto.
Yeah,
So yeah, we are planning. And right now I don't understand Portuguese. She doesn't
yeah.
understand English.
How do you communicate
We're trying.
this task?
I before I text her in WhatsApp, I would type in English, convert
Yeah,
to Portuguese, then type,
right.
and I think for her, she'd just respond in Portuguese. I copy that text, Google Translate.
And maybe Google Translate is actually wrong. Oh my God.
No, but
Yeah,
Google Translate would give you a
yeah,
concept of what she's saying. We are there. So we are there, and I think the best, worst mistake we are there now seated. We've
yeah,
grabbed the we are catching up. She's Portuguese and she's
right.
purely Portuguese, and
Yeah,
now we are there, and
okay.
now we are trying to chat, but you've gone there.
Not
You're grabbing
easy.
some food, so you're
Yeah,
just looking like each other. You want to ask her food is good, so I'm like, food is
yeah.
good. You give her thumbs up, huh? And she's like, oh my goodness.
These are stories you have to write a book somewhere. And guys, I mean, like, seriously. So guys, if you're listening to this, if you are, for instance, coming to Portugal, or your program actually involves you coming to Portugal, you can learn Portuguese, and you know what? You can work, even if you feel that you can go back to the African continent. You can work in the Lusophone countries, Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and so on and so forth. So as Israel is telling his stories here, really, the essence of this is to tell you that learning a language would be leverage for you in the future. If you're going to France, learn French. If you're going to Spain, learn the Spanish language, and so on and so forth. These are languages that, even if you're looking for a UN job, these would be languages that you can leverage on your CV eventually. So, I mean, I don't know, because I hope that you ended up with a girl eventually, because,
I give up. I give up. I could not.
oh no, no,
You can't sustain. And the challenge is,
yeah,
and that's why I emphasize when it comes to preparing for your visa, please do it early.
yeah,
Because had I arrived early, I would have partaken of the Portuguese classes early enough. But
right,
when I arrived, the Portuguese classes had proceeded to a different level. So catching
okay,
up was quite a challenge.
yeah,
So we were just like, we chat, but we are good friends. We still do chat, and then
okay, that's good, yes,
I'm learning because I'm learning a few Portuguese words. But the only
okay.
thing I still know is obrigada, obrigada.
Oh wow. Okay. Perhaps maybe Germany will be a walkover for you, because you have some German language,
Yes, yes.
experience,
I look
right?
forward to Germany. I look
So we
forward.
should interview you after Germany, and you can tell us.
Oh boy, I'll be a cartel. I'll be a cartel.
I
Germany will
mean,
be
like,
a
and you're going to Germany at a very nice time during spring, spilling over to summer. So there's a lot of activity that also happens in Germany. So perhaps we
yeah.
never know. We never.
Lovely, and it's a yeah, just as you say, it's a lovely town to be.
Yes.
It's a country to be in. Bayreuth
Yeah.
is a very small, beautiful town to be in.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll work on German, and I'm improving my French. I did French in high school. No, sorry,
Okay.
in university. But
Yeah.
I'm going to improve my French as well because Bordeaux is also on my radar.
Depends
So
on your
I
radar. So
so
you're
it's,
spoiled for choice at this rate, honestly speaking. I think I want to hear about this, even on WhatsApp or wherever else. and you can tell me more what's going on. I love to see you guys thrive, because we've talked about this in the background, even with the other Kenyan cohort, and I love to see you win in all ways, even get Zungu. Maybe someone, the online aunties and uncles, the online relatives are busy looking at you, and they'll be like, oh, finish school, find someone, bring us someone. Anyway, let's go to the question and answer section. Guys, if you're listening to this and you have a question, shoot it on the comment section. I do see everyone who is joining here. Saina Kiprotich, listening from Nairobi. I wish to be part of the one in a lifetime opportunity. Hopefully, I'll be a beneficiary one day. Absolutely, 100%. We are rooting for you. And that's the reason why we do these sessions, so that you can see that real people are actually getting these scholarships, and they are going for it and coming and experiencing the European, culture, the European system of education, and so on and so forth. Stephanie, I'm listening from Toulouse in France. Happy to be here. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. A big shout out to the OG Israel. You see, you have fans already, right? Yes, we see you, Philip, Stephanie, Peter, and Abuya, and someone known as Minion. I don't know who that is, but yes. Thanks, guys, for listening in. Now, when I posted this, I got a few questions that I would like for you to actually go ahead and answer. So one of the questions was, can you give me tips about the interview? Perhaps they applied, maybe they're looking forward for that. I don't know. Maybe some tips that you could give from your experience, maybe just a few of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mentioned about it briefly.
Yeah.
When you apply for this, an interview will not be anything different, but will be just the sum total of confirmation of what you have applied for, your experiences.
Yeah.
So interview, they won't ask you any foreign or technical kind of stuff. No,
Yeah.
they don't do that.
Yes.
They just want to talk to you as a person. You talked about this experience. Tell us about it.
Yes.
I can see that you've done this and this. Tell us about it.
Yes.
And of course, another interesting thing though you have to do in this interview, and I think is a cross-cutting thing, is can you try also have discussions on how you prepare to adapt or adjust abroad?
Yeah.
Because I remember being asked, okay, Israel, you're coming from Kenya and you're going to a very multicultural environment.
Yes.
How are you going to adjust within such a context?
Right.
So you always have to understand how you want to answer questions pertaining to your integration. Because of course the institutions and the scholarship will do so much to just integrate you. But everything falls back to you as a person. Your language skills, your interpersonal skills, those are very fundamental things that you need to respond to, especially when saying how you want to reintegrate yourself within the society. But the interviews are complex stuff. It's never that serious and complex as you take it. Be yourself. Just go there, chat with them, and they're very cool, these interviewers. Oh my goodness. I think it's Kenya where we've formalized interviews too much. I'm sorry to say.
When you go back, you have to change that. Yes, if you are gonna go back. Sorry. Yeah.
It's a lot of formalization. I'm sorry, you address me. What is the philosophy of Pythagoras theorem of blah blah? Hey, you look cool, man. How are you doing? Yeah, so I can see you did this, and how do you want to do this? It's just a simple, interesting kind of discussion. So be yourself. That is the only thing about interview I can advise. It's not forensic science. Be yourself and be confident, and definitely things will just proceed smoothly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another question that I found here was, which would be interesting, can this master's be for someone who has not done a bachelor's in African studies? I think that's obvious, right?
Okay. speaking conventionally from the Erasmus Mundus program, then speaking from my program. So
Yeah.
from the Erasmus Mundus, what I know is that at least you have to have a bachelor's degree
Right.
before you proceed to a master's
Yes.
within Europe.
Yeah.
But in mine was African Studies, EIMAS. But
Yes.
what was required is just specialty around issues of social sciences. So you
Right.
don't have to have done a bachelor in African Studies. You could
Okay.
have done international relations. You could have done criminology studies. You could have done political science. All you
Yeah.
have to do is just try convince them that, of course, this discipline that I've studied is
Yes.
related to what I'm applying for in this particular kind of way. If you
Yeah.
are applying for, let's say, chemistry, EIMAS in chemistry,
Yeah.
you have to convince them that the program, let's say your program was engineering, can you
Yeah.
convince them how this engineering that you studied is aligned to the chemistry program you're applying for? So same to
Yeah.
what I did. I
Yeah.
wasn't specialized in a bachelor's in Africa. I did international relations. I had to
Right.
convince them that international relations is related with the African stuff I'm doing in this particular kind of way. So just it's about connecting the
Yes.
program with
Yes.
actually what you've studied, get the linkages, and let the linkages become your discussion point.
Absolutely. Agreed with you. I mean, and this goes for any other program that you guys would be applying for if you're listening to this, because you really have to link what exactly you do or what exactly you've done before with what they're expecting, the eligibility criteria, and so on and so forth. You'll find that most of the master's program, Erasmus master's programs, would be very general in the background that they're looking for in terms of the degree. Some of them will even say, we accept all bachelor degrees. You will see some of them saying, oh, we accept people in chemistry, others in law, others in engineering, all at the same time, really. But what matters is the experiences that you've had, the skill set perhaps you have that, sets you apart globally as a good candidate. Remember, you're being funded for this whole program for 2 good years, and you're being given a stipend. They are paying for your, monthly tuition, not monthly, the whole period, tuition fees, insurance. They're giving you travel allowance. Like, you're the king, like Israel said, right? So now I think you've answered pretty much all the questions that I actually got from my when I posted this. But I do see one question here from Steven saying, "How did you maneuver through rent, accommodation, staff at arrival?"
Yeah, of course, there's always different ways that Erasmus supports you. Number one, it's they can't book accommodation for you directly.
Yeah.
In certain instances, you have to just try and identify housing within the areas. Of course, it is a good way of building your skills of actually also maneuvering within this particular kind of spaces.
Yeah.
But eventually, you'll have to check. There are always residential kind of links. You can check that there's this house you can book for this amount. I am aware of one called Housing Anywhere, Uni Places. There's a lot of housing kind of, but at the same time, the university always becomes very critical. Actually, I remember my program recommended some student residences,
Yes.
especially in Germany, for instance. Before we transitioned to Germany, I'm aware that we were just informed that the university has helped to reserve for us 13 spaces for the guys benefiting from the scholarship.
Yeah.
So, of course, always keep in touch with the university with regards to accommodation options beyond just trying to look for them and paying for them.
Yeah.
Just always converse and see how you can be helped, because they're always willing to go beyond their way to just ensure that you have this smooth transition, you are adjusting well within the country. So definitely, it's not a complex affair online, but also keep in touch with the university.
Absolutely. And Stephen, if you're listening to this again, if you are a successful candidate, you can always join up or team up with the students that would be joining you within your own cohort. And in case there's no accommodation that has been given to you, perhaps by the university, you can always get a public rental, and you can share the house, and that would reduce your cost. I would tell you for sure that different European cities have different rental prices. So be sure of that, because some of the cities will be very affordable, quote unquote. I don't want to say cheap, because I want to say affordable, and others would be quite more expensive, especially if you're going to countries on the south of Europe. It would definitely be a little bit cheaper as compared to countries maybe within the north of Europe, or in places like Germany, or even some places like France as well. So what I would tell you for a fact is to just learn how to manage your finances in terms of the stipend that you're receiving, such that by the time you're going to a very expensive city, perhaps you have some way where you have maybe saved a little bit of the money that you got from the cheaper city. That way you're able to keep on going. But there are several ways of doing this. So and always ask people who've already done this course. They would definitely help you. You can come to this channel. I personally went through it as well. So, you can always come to this channel and ask such kind of questions. Now, Israel, I know there's a lot we can talk about, but I want you to maybe chime in a conversation that should be on a whole different YouTube session. What are some of the pitfalls that you have seen with African students applying for scholarships? And this is a question that I tend to ask almost each and every guest, because as an African student, you've seen and you've gone through the process. And then, perhaps maybe you already have people who've been asking you, hey, can you help me here and there? What are some of the pitfalls that you find with African students when we are applying for scholarships abroad? And you applied for, oh my God, so many of them in the UK already. Like, what was the drive even? Like, come on.
Yeah. It's rather interesting and technical question, I have to say.
It's a whole YouTube. I had another session on its own, but you can maybe just chime in into that.
But some of them have just actually within the conversation with that, I think I've given a hint of some of the possible challenges
Yeah.
that African students applying for these programs do.
Yeah.
And these challenges, of course, stem from the beginning of the application process itself.
Right.
You want to have this scholarship eventually.
Yes.
Number one, just try and ensure it's aligned to your interests, and your interests are aligned to it. Don't apply for this because anyone is applying for it. I get it. And then can you just first clearly define what you want,
right,
what you've done, and how it resonates with what you're trying to apply for?
Yeah.
The number one problem is that issue now. We are applying without that clear focus. What are we really applying for? And then,
right,
are we just applying for the empty end? And we just want to apply because people apply and lack.
Yes.
And of course, I don't want to say it's always about lack, but I want to say it's always about how well you try to convince this panel that you are going to contribute to the program, and the program is going to contribute to your development. Don't just pick psych and they go apply this scholarship. It's luck, you never know. No, I can't talk about luck in this. Just be enthusiastic and passionate and apply for it from the bottom of your heart that this one speaks to my skills. And definitely you won't even have to worry about being called for an interview. Automatically you just find yourself called within this particular kind of system.
Right.
So for me, I've seen that is the biggest mistake. But also, it's something I've learned from myself.
Yeah.
Never feel shy asking people to review your application.
Very important. Yeah.
For instance, these sessions that Nduta you are convening are really fundamental. I remember you've convened quite a number of interesting sessions.
Yeah.
These sessions, as you apply for this, you may believe that, of course, you understand the entire process and the issues. Oh, I know this is, I'll do this myself. I don't need help. I'll
Right.
get into this. No, definitely you need help. At one point, if you've not been to universities abroad in Europe, just feel free to hear stories. Feel free to log into channels as this and learn what are some of the experiences, challenges, and stories. Because one thing you apply, I'm aware of different cases, though not from Erasmus, but from different contexts.
Yes.
Some applied, they got the scholarship, culture shock became too overwhelming, and these guys drop and start looking for manual jobs around, and it is hectic, especially when you don't clearly interact with the people who have been there. So never feel shy of asking.
Yes.
Okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? You may always think you're doing it the right way, but if you've never done it before, always ask. Always reach out to people. Always look for these interviews and then just learn from them. Because definitely they'll help you even prepare for how to deal with instances of culture shock.
Yeah. And how to deal for it now.
You won't be too about, you'll be anticipating this particular kind of instances. Rather than coming here and oh mommy, I'm suffering. I didn't know this is all the night. So you just have to do this. Yeah. So I believe for me those two critical issue areas for me are challenges.
Yes.
Feel free to consult people and of course always understand what you really want.
Yeah.
In the eventual run.
Absolutely, 100% agreed with you. I cannot, exclaim more than you have said. Honestly, guys, ask for the help because it's there. Help is available for you if you ask for it. So, I mean, guys, we've been hanging out here for 1 hour and 25 minutes, way beyond what we usually do. But it has been a fantastic discussion with you, Israel. And I look forward to hear you maybe do something. So I want to ask you, so are you planning to go to do a PhD? Are you planning to end up in a different field altogether? Can you let us in on a little bit of your plans?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah. And when I actually one thing, I love Africa, and for me, my drive is just how can I contribute to the transformation of Africa, leadership, development. And that's why I really appreciate and thank the Erasmus Mundus for this program, because this is the perfect way of doing this. And how do I want to do this? I've already started, actually, because eventually I want to go back to Kenya, support with the projects here and there. I've been writing some projects on community impact, even from this side.
Right.
I know these things I can do them from Europe, but I can also do them from Kenya, because when you're there in Africa, you understand even the pressing kind of issues and challenges, as compared to when you listen to it from here. So after this program, I want to pursue my PhD direct. I want to go straight to my PhD.
Right.
Yeah. After my PhD, I see myself as a policy practitioner, politician. Right. You can't change these things if you're not in politics. Never say you hate politics.
Okay. Politics, we will vote for you when that time comes. Yes.
Yeah. So with a little bit of politics to just see how best we can impact the continent and change things. So PhD is the eventual next step.
Wow.
Dr. Israel. Oh, sounds cool.
That sounds good. Dr. Israel Finney Award. Is it or Finney Israel Award? Or which is which?
No, Dr. Israel makes more sense. Dr. Israel is more like
Israel. You should put that on a plaque somewhere so you'll be seen and call it into fruition. Israel, I applaud you for sure, 100%. I'm rooting for you. We've spoken as well before. I'm 100% rooting for you guys, and I want to see more Kenyans also apply for these programs and have the experience that you've already had. It's been only a very short period of time, but it feels as if you've learned a lot. A lot. And I know there's some other stories that you have to tell, which maybe we cannot say here. So, I mean, maybe we can reserve that for another different forum, guys. But you've been listening to Israel here, and he's an epitome that it can be done, honestly speaking. So, why not you? You can, go ask yourself, look, Israel studied in, one of those schools we cannot say that, oh my God, it's the Alliance or Strathmore, and then went to the technical university, not the University of Nairobi, as they try to tell us
It's
here.
the technical, yes.
The technical university. So, like, whenever I get these questions, oh, I come from this and this university, oh, I come, like, we had Doreen as well here from Multimedia University. We have had Sharon as well from JQuat. Like, there are several universities that are participating. So, you do not shoot your foot by saying, hey, my university is less off, or, my course is less off. The experiences that you've had, and your skill set is what you need to sell yourself. Remember, you are competing on a global front. So it's very important for you to hear that it can be done. I was there myself. I've told my story several times. So it can be done. And we're from Kenya, guys. So why not you? Now, I want to end this conversation, obviously, by asking you for a parting shot. But I see here Kipratish saying, culture shock. Oh, mommy, I'm suffering. That's the worry for most who want to apply. I don't know whether that is true, but you don't want to leave your mommy. Okay. You want to keep telling your mommy that you're suffering. So Israel has told you no. So Israel, what's your parting shot? For someone who's listening to this, is interested in this master's program or any other master's program, or even any other study abroad program, because you've been through it, you've seen it, you've applied, you've gotten yeses, others, all of them yeses, but funding, partial funding, etc. So what's your parting shot for someone who's listening to this and is looking to study abroad?
Yeah. Well, my parting shot would be is don't give up. If you want to pursue your masters in Europe, don't give up.
Right.
Whether you're 30, whether you're 35, just apply for these opportunities.
Yes.
Because one thing I understand is Europe has really positioned itself in a very strategic way that it supports Africans that are very enthusiastic about influencing and impacting lives within these African countries.
Right.
And I can tell from my perspective, and I would trust if you borrow that perspective, the Erasmus scholarships are there.
Yes.
And trust me, it's just about you selecting what your niche is, what program strikes you.
Yeah.
And you'll find very amazing people to talk to. Yeah. Despite Nduta is really doing an excellent work here. But even the universities, when you ask them questions, how do I do this and this?
100%.
So the thing is, Europe has presented that opportunity for us Africans to actually pursue our academic dreams, professional ambitions abroad.
Yeah.
Europe wants to put itself in our lives to impact local kind of environments within our homes, within our societies. So go for it. Don't fear. Definitely do not fear that, oh, I do not feel like I qualify. The only thing you do is apply when you know what you really want to apply for, how you want to apply for it, and reach out to people when you need that help. So definitely for me, I'm really excited and I'm really grateful for the opportunity by the European Commission to study in Europe. It's one of my best experiences.
Right.
And definitely I wish and I pray and I hope for all my African friends and everyone listening, that please go for it. It's never that complex and hard as you may think. It's just waiting for you to tap that link and apply, and definitely you'll be feeling the breeze in Denmark.
Like you felt the breeze in Porto. Okay. Guys, take Israel's word 100% as gospel truth, So shoot your shots, guys. And I mean, I think I cannot add anything further than that, And I do hope that this session has been excellent for you. It has been that kick that you need. And of course, if you're listening to this much later, feel free to interact with me on the comment section. Feel free to join also the Erasmus Mundus Kenyan chapter. I have left a link on the video description below. Please feel free to join it. If you have questions as well, shoot them, ask for the help. That's all I can say. That's what Israel preached today. So now, thank you so much, Israel, for coming to this channel. I would love to hear what you achieve in the future, and I would love to perhaps maybe after Germany and France, maybe you can now tell us, so which is the best city to get a foreign girl. So I don't know, but you're gonna let us know from your own experience, as they say, from the horse's mouth. So, I don't know how it's gonna go. Perhaps you can also tell us which is the best beer after going on to this Germany, France. I want to hear from you maybe later as well. So thank you so much for coming in, and guys, it's been real. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And until next time, please stay tuned to this channel. You can always interact with me as much as you can, and I'll try to answer all the comments as much as I can, and as many emails as I receive every day. Please bear with me. I have too many. Anyway. Have a good one, guys, wherever you are. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Bye.
Bye-bye.